Greetings, ancestors. Welcome to another episode of the Adventures of Coyote Prophet. I am Coyote Prophet, and I'm coming to you live on the first day of 2021, the year that everyone hopes that is better than 2020. But hope deserves, the word itself deserves a whole entire show on its own. It needs to be dissected and shown to be the pathetic, useless word that it is in the English language. Anyhow, today's show is about ancestors. It's about those who have become ancestors in the year 2020. And possibly a short discussion of those who will become ancestors in 2021 and beyond. 2020 was just a start. 2021 is just going to be beyond imagination. And I dare not even talk about 22, 23, and 24. There are plans within plans, and there are agendas within agendas. And if you don't have a plan and or an agenda, you're going to succumb to someone else's. And in the case of many of the people who I will talk about, they succumb to someone else's plan. So, although they have now entered the ancestral realm, I'm sure the ancestral realm has many different levels. Some of them are probably on lower levels of the ancestral plane as opposed to some who are on a higher level of the ancestral plane. So, let's get at it. I am reading to you from an article from News One. It's called Rest in Power, Notable Black Folks We Lost in 2020. And an interesting thing is that they updated this as of 4:30 p.m. last night. And it's interesting the people who have passed away in the last several days. Starting off with MF Doom, who was a rapper. He passed away at 49 years of age. And let me just read a tweet that was posted by MF Doom or someone related to him. Begin all things by giving thanks to the all. To Dumley, the greatest husband, father, teacher, student, business partner, lover, and friend I could ever ask for. Thank you for all the things you have shown, taught, and given to me, our children, and our family. Thank you for teaching me how to forgive beings and give another chance, not to be so quick to judge and write off. Thank you for showing how not to be afraid to love and to be the best person I could ever be. My world will never be the same without you. Words will never express what you and Malachi mean to me. I love both and adore you always. May the all continue to bless you, our family, and the planet. All my love, Jasmine. Now, he passed away on October 31st, but his death was not announced until yesterday. Sounds kind of shady, but a little bit here for people who didn't know much about MF Doom. He came to fame in the early 90s, going by Zevlov X, as part of the rap group KMD, which also featured his latter brother Subrock, who passed away in 93. Mourning his younger brother's passing, he would retreat from the scene but returned in 97 with his face obscured, now going by MF Doom. He used a number of monikers during his career, including King Ghidorah, Metal Fingers, and Victor Von. And cause of death is not stated. I would assume, because it's not stated, it was the plague upon the land. The next person who just recently died on the 30th of December was Shabadoo. Some of you remember him as one of the major break dancers back in the 80s. Shabadoo Adolph Quinones. He was a dancer. He died at 65. He was a hip-hop dance pioneer who influenced several generations. Reportedly died at the age of 65. One of his friends and fellow choreographers, Tony Basil, tweeted the news on December 30th and described his death as being unexpected. His cause of death is also not mentioned. I would assume that he died because of the plague upon the land, or the original plague upon the land that only attacked certain groups of people in subculture. But, who am I to say? Next person we will talk about. Now, this person you've seen in the movie portrayed by Morgan Freeman. I forgot the name of the movie. Can't think of it right now. But it was controversial because this person was controversial. And that's Joe Clark. He passed away at 82. Known for using extreme methods of communication in his prized East Side High School in Paterson, New Jersey, Joe Clark would routinely roam the hallways brandishing a bullhorn or baseball bat in efforts to both discipline and sow the seeds of learning into his student's body. One that went from being written with truancy, drugs, and crime to a group of straight-laced overachievers in the classroom. It does not say what his cause of death. I would assume it was the plague upon the land. Also passing at the age of 19 was Ty Jordan. Ty Jordan, a star freshman running back for the University of Utah's football team, died after shooting himself on Christmas Day. He was just 19 years old. The Associated Press reported that Jordan accidentally shot himself in the hip. However, it was not clear how or why he shot himself, or how he got the gun. Was there anyone else with him? How does shooting yourself in the hip result in death? But anyway, days before he died, Jordan was named the Pac-12's Freshman of the Year. So this one is still kind of an open-end case. Of course, they would just like to brush it under the rug and be like, oh, well, he's dead. No need to follow up now. But I'm sorry, somebody shooting themselves in the hip does not result in death unless the bullet wouldn't hit his hip and just damn near exploded, and tearing off his leg and he bleeded profusely. But it doesn't say any of those details, so strange. His young self is now in the ancestral realm. Sad. Anyhow, next person is John Ecstasy Fletcher, who died at 56. John Fletcher, the rapper better known as Ecstasy, from the hip-hop group Houdini, has reportedly died. His cause of death is unknown. Plague upon the land, anyone? Houdini helped forge rap into the mainstream in the 80s and were known as pioneers in the formation of the New Jack Swing sound. Fletcher's death was announced by the Roots Questlove on Instagram. Alfred Thomas Farrar, 99. Alfred Thomas Farrar, a former Tuskegee Airman, died December 17th. He was 99 years old. And I think he was maybe the last living Tuskegee Airman. I could be wrong. It may be one more, but he may have been the last one. He left his home in Lynchburg, Virginia, to join the service after high school and began training in 1941. After leaving the military in 1943, he studied to be an aerospace engineer and worked as an engineer with the Federal Aviation Administration for 40 years. He will be honored at a troop rally on Christmas, and several planes are scheduled to fly over his memorial service on his birthday on the 26th, which was several days ago, as of the recording of this podcast. Ernie Robinson, 72. He was the Olympic gold medalist who died in his home on the 2nd of December in San Diego, according to New York Times. His son confirmed with the outlet that his death was the result of the plague upon the land. He was described as one of the greatest long jumpers in history, and probably will remain the greatest long jumper in history. Reverend James L. Netters, 93 years old. The news of civil rights activist and noted Memphis pastor James L. Netters was shared on December 13th. Netters was one of the activists who helped lead the sanitation workers' strike with Dr. Martin Luther King, as well as sit-ins, marches, and protests. His cause of death was not immediately known. Netters was 93 years old and served for over 60 years as the pastor of Mount Vernon Baptist Church. Also passing away at the young age of 76 was Carol Sutton. Actress Carol Sutton, whose performances in the TV series Queen Sugar and the movie Steel Magnolias earned her high praise, has died. Sutton was 76 years old. Her cause of death on December 10th was reported as the plague upon the land. New Orleans Mayor LaToya Cantrell remembers Sutton as the Queen of New Orleans Theater in a moving statement issued December 13th when the death was officially announced. Marcus Garvey Jr., 90. Marcus Garvey Jr., the namesake son of the famed Pan-Africanist who started the Universal Negro Improvement Association and the Back to Africa movement, has died. He was 90 years old. Garvey Jr. died December 8th, the South Florida Sun-Sentinel reported. The departure of Mr. Mark Jr., whom I had been married to for over 30 years, will leave a void that cannot be filled, and he will be greatly missed by numerous family, friends, and colleagues from all over the world, in many places where he had left indelible footprints. His widow, Jean Garvey, said in a statement. Moving on, and dancing their way to the ancestral realm, well, I should say two-stepping their way to the ancestral realm, was Charley Pride, the pioneer of country music, the man who actually started country music. Charley Pride went from growing up picking cotton in Mississippi to playing professional baseball in Negro leagues to getting drafted in the Army, going back to baseball to finally signing a record contract in Nashville, land of bombing downtown buildings, on his way to becoming the first major country music star who was black. It was a remarkable rise to fame that ended on December 12th after he succumbed to the deadly plague upon the land. Pride was 86 years old. Pride's signature hit song, Kiss an Angel Good Morning, released in 1971, officially secured his place among the country music greats and helped him earn the title of the Country Music Association's Entrepreneur of the Year. Despite being exposed to racism, or perhaps because of it, throughout the early part of his career when he was trying to get signed, Pride never sung what the Washington Post described as songs that were controversial. Instead, Pride gravitated towards music he intended to unite listeners. I was a novelty, but I never allowed myself to feel out of place unless someone else brought it up, that I was different. I tried not to think about it much, he wrote in his autobiography, Pride, published in 1994. Pride is survived by his wife, 3 children, 5 grandchildren, and 2 great-grandchildren. Next up, Tiny Lister, who passed away at the age of 62. Friday actor Tommy Lister was pronounced dead after police were called to his California home with reports of an unconscious male. Known for his large size and deep voice, Lister, 62, also used his physicality to his advantage to bring comedic elements to the role of Debo. Lister went on to star in other cultural classics like The Fifth Element, The Dark Knight, and voiced the character of Finnick in Zootopia. Next person was Natalie Desilelle Reed. She is 53 and she passed away on November 7th. with a private battle with cancer, according to TMZ. The beloved actress starred in a variety of black films and television shows, including How to Be a Player, Eve, and Medea's Big Happy Family. But it was her role in Mickey and Babs that made her a black cultural icon. Bruce Boyerton, 83. Bruce Boyerton, a respected civil rights activist and Alabama-based lawyer, died of cancer on November 23rd at the age of 83. In 1958, while he was a law student at Howard University, Boyerton stopped in a bus stop restaurant in Richmond, Virginia, where he refused to exit a whites-only area after attempting to purchase a sandwich. Boyerton hired Thurgood Marshall as his attorney, who would later go on to be the first black Supreme Court justice in U.S. history. In Boyerton versus Virginia, the Supreme Court ruled against them, inciting a series of freedom rides across the Jim Crow South. The movement garnered national attention, which was used as a foundation for the civil rights leaders to help pass the Civil Rights Act of '65. Boyerton comes from a strong line of civil rights leaders, one being his mother, Amelia Boyerton, who invited Martin Luther King Jr. to Selma, Alabama, later sustaining injuries from the Bloody March in '65, and co-founded the National Voting Rights Museum and annual Bridge Crossing Jubilee in Selma. How many of us have gone to the Jubilee in Selma? I certainly have not. I apologize, I needed to take a drink real quick. And let us continue. The Honorable David Dinkins. He passed away at 93. David Dinkins, a respected and beloved political leader in New York City, died of natural causes on November 23rd at the age of 93. In 99, Dinkins made history when he was elected the city's first black mayor after securing victory against Republican evildoer Rudy Giuliani. His ascension in New York City's politics began in New York State Assembly, where he was eventually elected Manhattan Borough President in '85. Prior to life in politics, Dinkins studied at Howard University. There seems to be a pattern here with Howard University. But anyway, where he graduated with a degree in mathematics and later obtained his law degree from Brooklyn Law School. He became part of an influential group of black politicians, including Denny Farrell, Percy Sutton, Basil Patterson, and Charles Rangel. The latter three, along with Dinkins, dubbed themselves as a Gang of Four. And that is a totally different movie, miniseries, all in and of itself. I'm really surprised no one has done a movie on that. But anyhow, saddled with an ever-changing economic landscape, Dinkins was able to make vast improvements to the city's bottom line, despite all of the lies that creepy creature named Giuliani kept saying. Dinkins decreased crime over his last 3 years in office. However, Giuliani waged a long-scale battle against Dinkins, which includes breaking the law, who eventually lost his seat to his GOP opponent in 1993 mayoral race. Dinkins died just 1 month after his wife, Joyce, in October. Now, I remember all of this because I lived in New York at the time, which, yes, another New York story is coming soon. But, yeah, those were some very interesting times in New York City, I can tell you that. Also passing away to the ancestral realm was Bobby Brown Jr., who was 28 years old. 28 being the number of years it takes Saturn to revolve around the sun, which people call your Saturn return. Saturn deals with karma. Saturn deals with all kinds of things in terms of debts owed, taxes, death. And if you have a curse or heavy energy on you at the age of 28 and your Saturn's coming back around to that point where you were born, you better watch out, because Saturn will take you out. And unfortunately, it did so to Bobby Brown Jr., which goes back to what I was saying in the beginning, that people end up leaving not necessarily because of their own accord, but because of someone else's agenda and plan. Tragedy has hit Bobby Brown's family once again after the singer's second oldest son has died. Bobby Brown Jr., a budding singer himself, was found dead in Los Angeles' home on November 18th. He was just 28 years old. No cause of death has been announced, and officials said there was no reason to suspect foul play was involved. Well, we do know that he was shot, so whatever. All right, now I believe this is the youngest person on our list who has gone on to the ancestral realm. Ben Watkins, MasterChef Junior contestant. He died at 14. Ben Watkins, who captured America's heart as a contestant on MasterChef Junior, a reality-based cooking contest TV show, died November 16th. He was 14. Watkins suffered from a rare form of cancer called, and I have tried to get this correct, angioimatoid fibrosis histocytoma. I tried my best. That results in soft tissue tumors. He was diagnosed last year. His family released a statement on the GoFundMe page raising money for Watkins' funeral and memorial, and noted that his parents were killed in a domestic violence dispute a few years ago. So you can imagine the trauma of possibly, I don't know the story, witnessing both your parents dying at the hands of each other's partner, and or just hearing about that and experiencing that at such a young age can cause such a traumatic ripple effect within the body that would cause something as harmful as cancer to move through. So after losing both his parents in September 2017, so he would probably been 11 then, maybe 12. We have marveled at Ben's strength, courage, and love for life. He never ever complained. Ben was and will always be the strongest person we know. The statement said in part before continuing later. When Ben's rare illness was shared with the world, he was so heartened by the outpouring of love he received from every corner of the globe, especially here in his hometown of Gary, Indiana. We cannot thank this community enough for holding our family up in prayer and for all that you've done. Ben suffered more than his share in his 14 years on this earth, but we take solace in that his suffering is finally over, and in the end, Ben knew he was loved by so many. Drew Days III, pioneer legal scholar, died at 79. Drew Days III, a legal scholar who broke barriers during his career as a lawyer and college professor over the course of more than 4 decades, died November 15th. The Alfred M. Rankin Professor of Law at Yale Law School was the first Black assistant attorney general for civil rights under President Jimmy Carter's administration, and later served as the first Black U.S. Solicitor General servicing under President Bill Clinton. Days began working at Yale in 1981 and remained on staff until his day. Lucille Bridges, mother of activist Ruby Bridges. Lucille Bridges, the mother of Ruby Bridges, who first made headlines as a Black first grade student following court orders integration into 1960 New Orleans. Okay, sorry, this is written very weird. Let me try to formulate it into a decent sentence. Lucille Bridges, the mother of Ruby Bridges, who first made headlines as a Black first grader following a court order of integration in 1960 New Orleans schools before going on to become a civil rights activist, has died. She was 86 years old and died on November 10th. Ruby Bridges eulogized her mother in an Instagram post. Today, our country lost a hero, brave, progressive, a champion for change. She helped alter the course of so many lives by setting me out on my path as a 6-year-old little girl. Our nation lost the mother of the civil rights movement today, and I lost my mom. I love you and I am grateful for you. May you rest in peace. Bishop Harry Jackson, pastor who advised Trump. Bishop Harry Jackson, a senior pastor at Hope Christian Church in Beltsville, Maryland. How many of you have gone to Maryland? Okay, that's another conversation and another show. But anyway, died November 9th. His cause of death was not immediately reported, but it cannot be overlooked that he had recently attended an event at the White House that resulted in multiple people contracting the plague upon the land. So, according to his bio, Hope Christian Church website, Jackson was a leader researcher on the Black church and co-authored High Impact African American Churches, a book nominated in 2005 by the Evangelical Christian Publishers Association Gold Medallion Award. So I'm sure they had a couple of Coon Awards for him as well. But moving on, I'm sure the ancestral realm is glad to meet him. Johnny Nash, chart-topping singer, has died at 80. Johnny Nash, whose smash hit song I Can See Clearly Now went on to become a worldwide anthem, died from natural causes. It was October 6th where he moved on to the ancestral realm. The Associated Press reported that the 72 song was written by Nash while recovering from cataract surgery. The song was performed by everybody from Ray Charles to Jimmy Cliff. His relationship with Bob Marley was well documented. Nash brought Marley to London in the early 70s when Nash was the biggest star internationally, and with Marley gave an impromptu concert at a local boys' school. Nash's cover of Stir It Up and Guava Jelly helped expose Marley's writing to a general audience. The two also collaborate on the ballad You Poured Sugar on Me, which appeared on the I Can See Clearly Now album. The AP wrote in his obituary. Also passing away is Gale Sayers, a former Chicago Bears football star. He passed at 77. He was battling dementia since being diagnosed in 2013. Now, he played football. He got hit in the head a lot of times. And then he gets diagnosed in 2013 of dementia. That's sad. He played for the Chicago Bears from 65 to 71 after setting records at the University of Kansas, earning the nickname the Kansas Comet. In September 13, Sawyer sued the NFL, claiming the league negligently handled his repeated head injuries during his career. The cause was withdrawn after Sayers claimed it was filed without his permission, but he filed a new lawsuit in January 2014 along with 6 other former players. Pamela Hutchinson, who was one of the 3 singers of the trio The Emotions, died on September 18th at the age of 61. So I thought I would. Hold on a second. Steve Carter, playwright, died at 90. Steve Carter, award-winning playwright who explored the African-American and Caribbean-American experience with incisiveness, humor, and a willingness to wrestle with difficult themes, including hatred, why not just say white supremacy, revenge, and forgiveness, died on Tuesday in Tomball, Texas. He was 90. Roy Hammond, singers, 81. Roy Hammond, a soul singer and songwriter who producer with an impressive catalog in the 60s and 70s, who produced a song that became one of hip-hop's foundational samples, died on Wednesday at his home in Allendale, South Carolina. He was 81. Now, yes, I will come out and say I don't remember which song that is, and shame on me because I should know. Also, taking the train to the ancestral realm was Toots Hibbert. He was a reggae singer. He died at 77. Excuse me. Toots Hibbert, a reggae icon who was the lead singer of the Maytals, died September 11th in Jamaica following hospitalization with symptoms consistent with the plague upon the land. However, there was no cause of death immediately reported. Yeah, it was the plague upon the land. It is with heaviest of hearts to announce that Frederick Nathaniel Toots Hibbert passed away peacefully tonight, surrounded by his family at the University Hospital of the West Indies in Kingston, Jamaica. The family and his management team would like to thank the medical teams and professionals for their care and diligence. He is survived by his wife of 39 years, Miss D, and his 7 of 8 children. So what happened to the 8th child? Also passing away, and this is sad, Lou Brock, who stole the second most number of bases during a legendary career that spanned nearly 2 decades and included leading the St. Louis Cardinals to 2 World Series wins in the 60s, died September 6. He was 81 years old. Cultural historian Sylvester Francis died at 73. He was the founder of a small but highly respected backstreet cultural museum that featured an array of exhibits from various aspects of African American culture in New Orleans neighborhoods. He died September 2nd. James S. Jackson, psychologist. James S. Jackson, the Daniel Katz Distinguished University Professor of Psychology, Professor of Afro-American and African Studies, and Director and Research Professor of the Institute of Social Research, has died, according to a tweet from Program for Research. According to Jackson's official bio on the National Board's website, the social psychologist has held the following past positions. These positions, Jesus Christ. Chair, Social Psychology Training Program and Director of the Research Center for Group Dynamics, the Program for Research of Black Americans, and the Center for Afro-American and African Americans, all of the universities of Michigan. Chair of the section on social, economic, and political sciences of the Americas, and so much more. John Thompson, basketball coaching legend, passed away at 78 years old. He's a legendary basketball coach at Georgetown University, became the first black head coach to win an NCAA championship, and he died at the age of 78. He reportedly died on the 31st of August, and they were not repeating his death, which means basically he died of the plague upon the land. And so many people have died because of the plague upon the land. And then the interesting thing is, well, that's a whole nother show. I'll just continue to move on. Now, we all know about Chadwick Boseman, who passed away. I won't read his. But most of us don't know about Chi-Chi DeVane, who was a reality TV star who died at 34 years old. Chi-Chi DeVane, a star in the RuPaul's Drag Race TV show, has died at the age of 34. DeVane's mother confirmed the death to CNN. However, the cause of death was not immediately announced. So, does someone? Okay. I will kind of like put some money that they died of the plague upon the land, the original one, not this new one. Anyway, moving on to the next person. Bob Rayland, first black tennis pro. He died at 100. He was the first black tennis pro to go professional. He died August 2nd. His Cause of death supposedly is stemming from the plague upon the land. Moving on, James Kamala, the Ugandan Harris, former pro wrestler, 70. He died at the age of 70. But let me go over that name again. James Kamala, the Ugandan Harris. Universe much here? I mean, what's going on with that name? Because that's kind of creepy. He shot to fame in the 80s as a pro wrestling, battling superstars such as Hulk Hogan, Andre the Giant, and The Undertaker. It doesn't say how he died, why he died, or any of that stuff. Herman Cain, former presidential candidate, 74. Herman Cain died July 30th at the age of 74 after being hospitalized with the plague upon the land. The former presidential candidate, who was once considered by President Donald Trump for the Federal Reserve, was hospitalized in Atlanta January 1st, just 2 days after passing positive for the plague upon the land. Now that's interesting, because he got diagnosed and 2 days later he was dead. Yeah, he was 74, but I mean, really? I don't know his health background, but if he had, those pre-existing, excuse me, and I'm yawning, and this is not good. Let me take a drink. I tend to yawn when I read, silently and out loud, which is a weird thing. I don't know where that came from. But anyhow, Herman Cain died July 30th at the age of 74 after being hospitalized with the plague upon the land. The former presidential candidate, who once considered by President Donald Trump for the Federal Reserve, was hospitalized in Atlanta on July 1st, just 2 days after testing positive for the plague upon the land. Less than 2 weeks before receiving his diagnosis, Cain attended a Trump rally in Tulsa, Oklahoma, where he was surrounded by other attendees, none who were wearing masks and protective gear. I wonder. I'm having a little technical difficulty here. Just bear with me for a second. Cain, a survivor of stage 4 colon cancer, was a business executive and board chairman of a branch of Kansas City Federal Reserve Bank before becoming involved in Republican politics. He ran for president as a Republican in 2000 and 2012. Prior to that, Cain was a high-ranking executive with several food companies, including working as the CEO of Godfather's Pizza for more than a decade. Stanley Robinson, former college basketball star, he died at 32. Stanley Robinson died at the age of 32, according to reports on July 22nd. There was no date of death immediately reported for the former college basketball star and professional basketball player. So, it's probably safe to say he was murdered. John Lewis, civil rights icon and longtime congressman, 80. Okay, we'll skip that one. Reverend C.T. Vivian, civil rights pioneer associated with Martin Luther King. He died at 95. We'll skip that one. Jazz Fly Waters, TV writer, 39. Jess Waters, a television writer and former journalist who rose to prominence as a cast member on the reality TV show Gossip Game, has died at the age of 39. The cause and date of her death uncertain. Well, everything in this universe is uncertain. Wes Unseld, NBA Hall of Famer, 74. He's a legendary NBA center who led the Washington Bullets to the franchise-only championship. He died June 2nd. Wilson Roosevelt German, former White House butler. He died at 91. Shad Gaspard, pro wrestler. He died of a drug overdose. And he was a professional wrestler turned actor and author. He was found on May 20th after missing while swimming at a beach in California, which is interesting because another brother just died on the beaches of California while swimming with his son. In that case, he was taken by the tide, and when help got out to him and his son, he told them to save his son, and they got his son ashore. They went back out for him, and he was gone. Gregory Tyrese Boyce, actor, died at 30. He was found dead in his Las Vegas condo on May 13th. He and his girlfriend were found dead together. Natalie Adepoju was 27 years old. What did I tell you about that Saturn return? You know, he skipped his, but he kept playing stupid games and won a stupid prize. But homegirl was 27, about to be 28. Saturn's like, bitch, time to take you out. There was no cause of death reported, but I'm reporting it. It was drug overdose. And that's for a fact, because I looked it up. Bob Watson, former MLB star and manager, he died at 74. He died of kidney disease. Oh, finally, somebody who dies of something that's kind of natural. Fred L. Davis, civil rights activist and Memphis official, 86. He was a longtime Memphis City Council member and civil rights activist with Martin Luther King. Davis saw the city revolution for the Memphis sanitation workers who were on strike in the early 68. Jimmy Glenn, boxing trainer, 89. Jimmy Glenn, the legendary boxing trainer who worked with some of the sport's top fighters, died following complications from the plague upon the land. Haywood Dotson, Columbia University basketball legend. That Haywood Dotson who helped lift Columbia University's basketball team to its only Ivy League title in '68, and who later attended the University of Oxford on a Rhodes Scholarship. He died on May 1st, and he was 71. Betty Wright, singer, 66. Betty Wright, the award-winning R&B soul singer whose signature song went on to become a sampling standard in hip-hop music, died Sunday morning. She was 66 years old. Wright, whose cause of death was not immediately reported, had a career that spanned decades and evolved from its gospel roots to rhythm and blues to pop to later, of which won her a pair of Grammys. She also lost her son a few years ago, which was unfortunate. And Little Richard, yes, he died at 87. We all know Little Richard was a pioneer in and of his time. He was the original drag queen, if you want to call it that. But yeah, Little Richard passed away. Andre Harrell, 59, passed away back on May 8th. Bob Andy, reggae singer, 75. Bob Andy, a legendary reggae singer and songwriter, died on March 27th. He was 75 and died following a short illness. What's the illness? No one tells it. But as part of a duo, Bob and Marcia with Marcia Griffiths, Andy reached number 5 in the UK and 70 with Young, Gifted, and Black, an up-tempo recording of a Nina Simone original. They also reached number 11 in 71 with Pied Piper, which went 13 weeks in the chart. Tony Allen, legendary African drummer, 79. He was a pioneering percussionist from West Africa whose signature drumming pattern helped discover and fine-tune the Afrobeat genre of music. Died April 30th. His manager told the New York Times that Allen had died following an aneurysm. He was 79. Al Edward, former Texas state representative and Juneteenth champion, died at 83. He was a state representative, successfully wrote bills to mark Juneteenth as the first black emancipation celebration to receive official state recognition. He died on April 29th, and they said he died of natural causes. What's that? What's natural causes? Anyway, Steezo, rapper and pioneer hip-hop dancer, 51. Steve Williams, the old school rapper who was more popularly known as Steezo, has reportedly died on April 29th at the age of 51. Not only known for a series of his cults, Ashley, Miss Minnie Ross, star of the Lifetime Network television series Little Women in Atlanta, died on April 27 after being in what her publicist called a tragic hit-and-run car accident. She was only 34. Mike Huckabee, techno house and music pioneer, he also died because of the plague upon the land. He was a permanent figure in the Detroit techno house music scene. And I wanted to go back to Steezo. Let's see. I think it was Steezo. What was it? I am lost here. Oh, back to Betty Wright. She died of cancer. And her son was shot on Christmas Day in Florida. I meant to say that. There was a note that I had wrote down and I completely forgot. And I apologize for forgetting that and not saying it the first time around. But continuing on, Don Campbell Locke Campbell, creator of Lock Dancing, he's died at 69. Don Campbell, the creator of locking, which later became a prominent feature of breakdancing, died on March 30th. He was 69 years old. Campbell's nickname was Campbellock, which ultimately shortened to simply locking, the pioneer dance moves that came before popping, b-boy, and other styles that are often collected under the label of hip-hop. Now, it doesn't say how he died, but, either the original Plague Upon the Land or this one. Shel A. Wall, literary scholar, 71. Shel A. Wall, an award-winning scholar of African American literature and a board of governors. Zora Neale Hurston, professor of English at Rutgers University, died April 18. She was 71 years old and had planned to retire at the end of the school year. Gail Bailey, radio pioneer. Gail Bailey, the radio broadcaster and personality known as the Godfather. Did I say Gail? I'm sorry, I can't read. Gil Bailey, the radio broadcaster and personality known as the Godfather, died April 13. His death came from complications after contracting the plague upon the land, according to the Jamaican Observer. The native Jamaican rose to prominence on radio stations with Caribbean music programming in the New York City area. And I know what's happening. Okay, it doesn't say how Gil died, but or how old Gil was, but yeah, pretty much probably plague upon the land. Grace F. Edwards, a novelist whose work focused on her native Harlem, died February 25th. She was 87. Samuel Hargress, owner of the legendary Harlem nightclub, died in 83. He died because of the plague upon the land. Tavares Jackson, former NFL quarterback, 36 years old, died in a car accident in Alabama on April 12th. He was just 36 years old. Jackson, who graduated from Alabama State University at HBCU, played in the NFL from 2006 to 15 for the Seattle Seahawks, Minnesota Vikings, and Buffalo Bills. China Marie Rogers, the model turned rapper, died at 25. Thought she would be the youngest, but nope, she got one up on her. She died April 8th. Her cause of death was reported on social media as a drug overdose. And yeah. Ahmed Ismail Hussein, Somali singer, 92. He was a popular Somali singer and musician. He was hospitalized in the UK after catching the plague upon the land. Earl G. Graves, Sr., founder of Black Enterprise. He was 85 when he passed. He died on April 7th following complications from Alzheimer's. And how convenient, right? One of the richest men, powerful because he was in the media, black men in the country, and he lost it all. But anyway, that's a whole nother podcast. Bobby Mitchell, NFL player, died at 84. He played 11 seasons in the NFL. He played for the Cleveland Browns and the Washington Redskins before he was inducted into the NFL Hall of Fame in 1983. And he died on April 5th. Bill Withers, singer, he died at 81. His smooth and soulful voice brought decades of positive messages of upliftment with the award-winning music that included his hit songs Lean On Me, Ain't No Sunshine, and Lovely Day. He died on April 3rd. The cause of death was attributed to heart complications. Rest in power. Elias Marcellus Jr., the legendary jazz pianist, died at 85 on May 7th in New Orleans. And yes, he died of the plague upon the land. Wallace Rooney, jazz trumpeter, 59 years old. He also died of complications from the plague upon the land. Died on March 31st. He was a Grammy Award-winning jazz trumpeter. Reverend Dr. Joseph Lowry, a civil rights pioneer, died at 99. He was known as the Dean of Civil Rights. He was the top lieutenant for Dr. Martin Luther King. And he did the whole Mobile, Alabama thing as well. Emma Cooper Harris, the first African-American mayor of Anguilla, Mississippi. She was, remembered as she was a community activist, a civil rights icon in Mississippi, and she became mayor of Anguilla, Mississippi, and she joined the Ancestors. It doesn't say what. We assume it's the plague upon the land, and it doesn't say how old she was as well. Fred Curly Neal, Harlem Globetrotter legend. He died at 77. He looked good at 77 as well. Or I should say he looked good at 72, because the picture that I'm looking at was taken when he was 72. He died on March 26th. It doesn't say how he died. Basically, the plague upon the land. Reverend Darius L. Swan, civil rights activist, died at 95. He was opposed to segregating schools, and he was part of the whole movement. He died on March 8th. Another civil rights activist who was the direct relative of Emmett Till, Erica, okay, it's spelled weird, but is Erica Gordon Taylor. She was the daughter of Emmett Till's cousin, who had a career in bringing attention to his lynching death through a charitable foundation. She died on the 22nd of March, and she suffered from kidney issues, so her kidneys basically failed, and she was only 50 years old. Saxophonist Manu Dibango, who died at 86. He died on March 24 following complications from the plague upon the land. He was a legendary saxophonist from Cameroon. Barbara C. Harris, the Episcopal bishop, has passed away at 89. She was the world's first ordained Episcopal bishop who was a woman. She died on the 13th of March. Roger Mayweather, Floyd Mayweather's uncle, died on March 17th. He was only 58 years old. And his death was a week after Josie Harris, the long-term girlfriend and baby mama to Floyd Mayweather. She died at 40. He died at 58. She was found in her car at her home. It doesn't say how she died, and it wasn't the plague upon the land. I say she was murdered, but whatever. Barbara Neely, author, 78. Barbara Neely, an award-winning writer, best known for a groundbreaking mystery series based on black woman sleuths named Blanche White, died on March 2nd after unexpected illness. Danny Tidwell, the dancer. He was a contestant and finalist on the So You Think You Can Dance show, was killed in a car accident on March 6th of this year, or last year rather. That's tragic. He was only 35. Sam the Man Burns, another DJ house music, dies. Doesn't say what he died of. He died on March 7th. That was before the lockdown came. He may have had been exposed sooner, or he may have had the original plague upon the land. He's definitely a legendary DJ in the DC area, and he was spinning music for 40 years. McCoy Tyner, a legendary jazz pianist, is dead at 81. He died on May 18th. I'm sorry. No, I take that back. He did not die on May 18th. That's a totally different date. He was 81 years old. He died on March 6th. And he was a worldwide musician. And he played with John Coltrane's jazz quartet. The Hidden Figures movie mathematician Katherine Johnson, she died on February 24th at 101 years of age. B. Smith died at 70. My girl Kimberly Frazier, do look her up on YouTube and on Spreaker. She did a number of podcasts on B. Smith and her death and the legacy that she attempted to leave behind. It's quite fascinating, I would add, so do check it out. Pop Smoke passed away. He was shot and killed in Hollywood on the morning of February 19th. Janet Dubois, who was one of the actresses to spearhead the cultural icon show Good Times, passed away on February 18th. She was only 74 years young. She was still looking beautiful. Doesn't say how she passed away. Yes, it does. I'm sorry. She passed away in her sleep. So at least it was peaceful. She took a walk right into the ancestral realm. There was no violence. There was no craziness. It was just, it's your time, honey. You can come if you want to. She went on skipping out of here. Good for her. rest in power. Esther Scott, 66.